Today we'll explore a fascinating topic that has intrigued people for centuries: prophecies of the end times in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. To ensure a logical, unbiased view, we're using AI to analyze these prophecies from an evidence-based perspective, helping us separate cultural interpretations from core religious texts. This approach allows us to explore similarities and differences in a way that's impartial, relying on the texts themselves rather than emotion or opinion. Let's begin with the Christian view of the end times. In Christianity, most teachings about the end times come from the New Testament, specifically the book of Revelation, as well as the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The prophecies describe events that will lead to the final judgment and the establishment of God's kingdom. According to Revelation, some signs of the end times include natural disasters, wars, and widespread moral decline. One notable figure mentioned is the Antichrist, a being who will deceive humanity and oppose God. Revelation also introduces the concept of the mark of the beast, often interpreted as a sign associated with the Antichrist's followers. Another key element is the second coming of Jesus Christ, when he will return to defeat evil and judge the living and the dead. This is followed by the resurrection of believers and the creation of a new heaven and a new earth. From a deductive perspective, we can interpret these signs as metaphorical, pointing to moral and societal decline rather than specific events. However, others interpret them literally, expecting these events to unfold as described. This difference in interpretation shows that Christian prophecy can be understood through multiple lenses, both symbolic and literal. Now let's examine the end times prophecies in Islam. Teachings about the end of the world are known as Akhir al-Zaman, meaning the end of time. These prophecies are found in both the Quran and the Hadith, the recorded sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. According to Islamic teachings, one of the first major signs of the end times is the coming of the Dajjal, often compared to the Antichrist in Christian prophecy. The Dajjal is described as a deceiver who will spread chaos and lead people away from the truth. Another significant figure in Islamic eschatology is Jesus, or Isa in Arabic. Unlike the Christian view, in Islam, Jesus is expected to return not as a divine judge, but as a prophet who will defeat the Dajjal and restore justice. This will lead to a period of peace and righteousness before the world's ultimate end. Additionally, a figure called the Mahdi, or the Guided One, is also expected to emerge, leading Muslims in a fight against oppression and preparing the way for Jesus' return. In Islam, there are several signs that signal the approach of the end times, such as moral decay, natural disasters, and unusual celestial events. Some scholars interpret these signs metaphorically, suggesting they reflect spiritual and social challenges rather than literal events. Deductively, we see that both Islam and Christianity emphasize the themes of deception, moral decline, and divine intervention, though each assigns different roles and events to these themes. Turning to Judaism, we find another unique perspective on the end times. In Jewish eschatology, the concept of the Messianic age is central. Unlike Christianity and Islam, which anticipate specific figures like the Antichrist or Dajjal, Judaism focuses on the coming of a Messiah, or Moshiach, who will be an anointed leader descended from King David. This Messiah is expected to restore Israel, gather the Jewish people back to their homeland, and bring an era of global peace and justice. The Jewish end times prophecies are found in books like Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Isaiah, for example, describes a future in which nations shall beat their swords into plowshares, symbolizing a time of peace. Daniel also speaks of a time of tribulation, with the abomination that causes desolation, a phrase often interpreted as a sign of catastrophic events or moral decay. However, unlike Christianity and Islam, Judaism generally lacks a detailed narrative of global destruction or final judgment. Instead, it emphasizes the transformation of the world through the arrival of the Messiah and a return to righteousness. From an inductive approach, we can conclude that Jewish eschatology focuses on renewal and peace, rather than a climactic battle between good and evil. This reflects a distinct theological perspective, in which the end is seen as a new beginning rather than a definitive conclusion. So what common themes can we identify across these three religions? Despite their differences, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism share some strikingly similar themes in their end times prophecies. First, all three emphasize the idea of moral and societal decline. Whether it's described as wars and rumors of wars in Christianity, corruption and chaos in Islam, or tribulation in Judaism, this shared theme points to a belief that human behavior and societal values play a role in the world's trajectory. Second, each religion expects the emergence of a figure or figures who will guide believers and restore justice. In Christianity, it's Jesus returning as a savior. In Islam, it's the combined efforts of Jesus and the Mahdi, and in Judaism, it's the arrival of the Messiah. Deductively, we could argue that this reflects humanity's desire for leadership during times of crisis, a recurring concept across cultures and religions. Lastly, all three religions describe a transformation of the world, whether it's the creation of a new heaven and earth in Christianity, a period of peace and righteousness in Islam, or the Messianic age in Judaism. Inductively, this suggests that end times prophecies are not merely about destruction, but also about hope, renewal, and a return to divine order. What does this mean for us today? End times prophecies have a powerful psychological and cultural impact, shaping how people interpret current events. Natural disasters, political conflicts, and societal shifts are often seen as signs, leading some to believe that the prophecies are unfolding in real time. However, using AI to analyze historical and theological patterns, we find that these prophecies have been interpreted in various ways over centuries. Many of the signs described have recurred throughout history, suggesting that they may be symbolic of enduring human challenges rather than specific future events. So, can these prophecies be compatible with a modern worldview? From a logical perspective, end times prophecies could be understood as moral guidance rather than literal predictions. They remind believers to remain ethical, resist deception, and strive for justice. Deductively, we can interpret these prophecies as a call to self-reflection and responsibility, encouraging people to improve society rather than fear its end. If you found this analysis intriguing, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more explorations of faith, logic, and culture through an AI lens. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these end times prophecies are symbolic? Or do they hint at specific events? And if you know someone who would find this discussion valuable, please share this video with them. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.